God, so welcome to edition 25 of Let's Talk Business Coaching. 2025, crikey. That's nearly 6 months, well, nearly 26, but anyway, but nearly half a year we've been doing this, so every Tuesday. How quick has that gone, though? I mean, really amazing, isn't it? Nearly 6 months of doing this, which has been great. And I generally look forward to it. It's great. It's a highlight of my week to see you guys. So there we go. I need to get out more perhaps, but there we are. So anyway, we're talking about rejection and overcoming pushback in sales, or people saying no, or being ghosted, or not showing up, and this sort of thing. And it came to me as an idea, because I know of people who've had this happen to them recently. Happened to me on Friday, and I'm completely over it now. Not much, but it's one of those things that, how do you cope when people say no, they don't show up, or whatever it is in the sales process doesn't go to plan, and we tend to take it a bit personal? And how do we sort of how do we either avoid it, or how do we get over it and get back on the horse and move on again? So Mr. Hughes, I think this was never happened to you. I take it this is just doesn't happen in your world, of course, being ghosted and saying no to sales.
Was that to me? Sorry, you froze.
Yeah, so you. I mean, oh no, don't freeze on us again.
You can't avoid it. You definitely can't avoid it. Happened to me today, and I don't. And it's really hard to come to terms with, especially in the beginning. You can't avoid it, so don't try. I'm better at it now. I mean, I'm better at dealing with it now. Not doing more of it. Yeah. But it's something that I can understand when I first started coaching, because you kind of go, you've got all the way through the process of getting onto a call. Why wouldn't you turn up, right? Especially as a coach. I know I can help someone, right? And I know that their business is better off with me than without me. It's just a truth. So it's quite frustrating. I find it more frustrating than anything. I just think, if you're not going to turn up, just don't turn up. Like, just tell me. Just kind of let me know, and it's absolutely fine. How do I deal with it now? I sulk for about a minute, and then I move on with my day.
Just for a minute, just sulk for a minute. It's a good point. We had one happen to us, the same sort of thing. We did a Zoom webinar a couple of weeks ago, and this lady came on the call, all very good, very excited, did me a message, did me an email, wanted to have a chat. It was all great. I went onto our website, booked in through Calendly, and all done, all approved, and they all agreed, this sort of thing. I sat there on Friday morning, 9 o'clock, Zoom opened, sat there, she confirmed all was good, and then nothing. No, she didn't. So I emailed and said, and I was tempted to go down the route of, well, thanks for ruining my Friday, Saturday waiting for you. But I didn't. I played night. I emailed, said, if you got stuck, you'd like to reschedule, let me know. Things happen. Happy to do all sorts of thing. Nothing, like zero. That's like a week. That's on Friday last week. And it always makes me wonder, if something dramatic happened in her life, that was 1 second, there we go, that I don't really want to amplify and make things worse, because who knows what happened and the reason why she wasn't there. But it is pretty irritating. And I think for me, I think it's more of an ego thing. I need to let go of it. It's like, how dare you stand me up? Don't you know who I am, for goodness sake? It's me.
It's even worse when they come and find you. It's even worse when they find you, and you think we can do all the outbound marketing and direct mail and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if somebody doesn't turn up from that, okay, like, kind of fair enough, we went to them. But when somebody books a call with you, messages you through LinkedIn or something like that, and you think, and then don't turn up, or says no. And I just think it's just rude. Is it rude? Is it weird? I don't know. But it says more about them than it does about me. And I think one of the things I've had to get over, you talked about ego there for a second, for the first year, I would say, I was thinking that they were saying no to me.
Yes. Yeah.
But they're not. They're saying no to the coaching, right? And as long as you reconcile that in your mind, then you don't dwell on it too long, I think.
But I think it's, as with and Laura, hi, welcome, good to see you. We're talking about rejection in sales and not getting conversions and that sort of thing. So I know it doesn't happen to you at all, but anyway, good to see you on the call. I think part of it,
The reason why I'm so good at dealing with it, I had so much shitloads of it that I've learned to, it's not about me, it's about them. So it's because I've had plenty of it.
Good. But I think as well, we're in sales, and I've seen this for what I do or what clients do. Sales is not about selling a product or a service or anything like that first. It is about getting people to make a change, just changing a habit or a behavior or a decision or a brand or whatever it is. I remember having this when we had our transport business donkeys years ago, and we would quote against, the DHLs of this world or the FedEx of this world for different sort of contracts and things like that. And we would be more local. We could be cheaper. We'd have a local contact. We'd have all this stuff. And I remember saying to them, when they didn't buy, why didn't you buy? And they would just say, well, because better the devil we know. They were safer with that, that thing they bought for years. And it wasn't the fact we weren't good enough. It's that they wouldn't make the change. I think that's part of it in what we do from a coaching point of view. The thing they've got to decide to do first is change. And then they choose us, if you like. But it does say a lot more about them. But it is still pretty frustrating. Lynn allows me a very short pity party on Friday morning. I had a pity party, and I was going to go and get a job driving a truck for Tesco's, and I can't be doing this at all. It's all turned to crap and all that. And it's not true. But again, something else I've learned is don't make don't make long-term decisions based on short-term emotions. Otherwise, I'll be driving a lorry for Tesco's. But it does affect.
One thing we talked about. One thing we talked about very early on was the sales process and stuff like that. And I think that when people say no, they don't actually mean no. What they mean is you've not shown me enough value. And it's our job as the people selling to show them that value, right? So that's one thing. But one of my favorite things is there was a program over here. I don't know when, maybe some of the British guys can tell me, but it was about a call center in Mumbles in Wales with a guy called Nev who ran it. And his phrase was SW, SW, SWN, which is some will, some won't, so what, next. And that's what I've tried to. Whenever something like this happens, I always think to myself, some will, some won't, so what, next? Which kind of moves me on.
Absolutely. You do have to let go of it. I think it's one of those things. But even when, and I had one of the clients over in the UK, they're a martial arts client, doesn't matter who they are, and they were struggling to convert for students. They come along for a trial lesson and they convert to be a full-time student, and they were getting really frustrated with their conversion, people saying no. And I said, well, get me a recording of the conversation if you can. They did, with a student permission, all this sort of thing. And they played the recording back. And this guy was a martial artist. They came off the mats after doing the trial lesson. And the guy said to him, did you enjoy that? And that was really great. And literally said to him, he said, well, I don't suppose you want to join, do you? Because you live a long way away, don't you, from where you live? And it's like, you're just talking him out of the sale completely by giving him every objection. You're giving him objection before he says it to you, and he didn't realize it. But everybody he spoke to was for, well, I suppose you think you're a bit short for martial arts, don't you? Or you're a bit old, or a bit young, you're a bit fat, you're a bit tall, anything, you've got blue eyes, therefore martial arts is clearly not going to be for you. And he just talked them all out of it. And I think we're probably conscious of doing that to a degree ourselves. We don't mean to. We do talk people out of the sale as well, though, from time to time.
Yeah, and there's ABC, which is traditionally always be closing. I changed that to always be coaching, and all you're doing is you're coaching to a decision, and sometimes the decision is no, but the martial artists. In that instance, one of the things I learned early on was, make an offer, shut up.
Yes.
Just stop talking, right? Because people will naturally fill the silence, right? So I've definitely learned to keep quiet when I've made the offer. And all that objection handling obviously helps, and being able to identify them and being able to knock them out the park, that all helps. But shutting up is probably the best sales tactic that you can employ.
A very good technique. In fact, I had a message come through literally yesterday through on LinkedIn, and this chap up in Luxembourg wants to meet up and do something starting the new year. And we're messaging on LinkedIn yesterday evening, and went, oh, bang, 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 bang. Meet up on Thursday. Yeah, all good. And I said, well, do you want to meet in Luxembourg or do you want to do it via Zoom? And since then, nothing's like gone dead. It's like flipping heck. Now, I don't know what's happened. It's this sort of, why has it stopped? Obviously, he may have had to go and get his dog sorted out or travel or whatever it is. But it's gone dark now, and it's like Thursday coming up, and I get all sort of frustrated about it. The challenge I find as well, and maybe this is for other people too, when you get an inquiry that looks reasonably positive, for me, it's that case of, well, they're already a client, and then it's funny for me to lose them, if that makes sense. It's not a case of go and win them. I count them. Yeah, you're in, done, got a new client coming on board. It makes such sense. We're going to get on with this. And then it's a real letdown if I don't get them. I lose them rather than win them, which is probably not the way to do it. But
I think my attitude is they're already a client. It just depends on what level client they are.
Yes.
That's my mindset going into the sales situation is they're already a client. Let's find out which type of client they are.
Yes. Good point. But you allow yourself 1 minute to have a pity party, then you're back on the horse again. And away you go.
Yeah, I think you got it. I think with everything, if you have a setback with anything, you have to allow yourself a period of grief, and it just depends whether it's 1 minute or 1 hour or a day or a week or a year. And you allow yourself that time, and then you move on. I think
but this is an interesting word, that this sort of this grieving on that sort of level. I remember I was at college in 1988, and it was a long time ago, before most people were born on this call. But anyway, 1988, we got to know some of the people there. We were living in Birmingham at the time, and one of the girls on the course lived around the corner from us. So we would go around to their place, they'd come to us, this sort of thing. And then we finished the college course, and as we finished, she split up with her boyfriend at the time, and she was devastated by this. And anyway, we moved away, she moved away, and about in 2019. She popped up on the radar again, and she came to one of our events over in the UK, and which was great. I hadn't seen her for all these years. And the first thing she said, I said, hi, it doesn't matter who she is. Hi, how are you doing? And she said, oh, I still miss him. It's terrible. I said, who are you talking about? And she still misses his boyfriend from 1980. I mean, he was fine. They just been together for 2 or 3 years, and she hasn't moved on since then. She's been, grieving about this partner, and he was a lovely guy. I'm sure he was great, but crikey, since 1988, you have to maybe let go and move on a little bit. But I think we do that in sales as well, to a degree. So anyway, so we'll open it up.
I mean, you sent me a message from last week and was like, no, he doesn't qualify anymore, Exactly. And it's like that. It's that, because you can chase and chase and chase and chase and chase. But ultimately, you got to move on to the next one.
Yeah, and let them know they don't. We had a guy up in Luxembourg, and we were going to have a meeting. We had 2 meetings, and we and Lynn sent him a message, an email to confirm all this sort of thing. And he came back very rude and said whatever it was all about. He got his tail twisted somewhere. And I just emailed him back and said, for that, on the basis of that email he sent through to Lynn, who was trying to help you. And she phoned up to apologise. There's nothing wrong, but just trying to sort it all out. And he wouldn't have it. So I said, no, so I'm withdrawing the offer. I don't work with people like you. And off you go, clear. He went nuts. He went literally nuts because we challenged his ego. But you think it's okay for him to be like that to us, but not okay for us to take it off him. And this is an interesting sort of who's in charge, who's in control, who's boss, and this sort of thing, and slave and servant, master, this type of thing. We've got to watch out for that, but I think it can affect us, but still. Anyway, so we'll throw it open. Great to see everybody on the call this evening. Anybody got any stories or experiences of being told to clear off or not make the sale, or any pushback you'd like to share?
Something I jotted down as soon as you were talking about it. It's not about. It's harder to accept rejection when you haven't got a marketing machine, when you don't get many meetings. So you hang on to that one meeting. So it's all on that one meeting. So that makes it. My early days, that rejection really used to hit me because I didn't generate enough sales meetings.
Sure. Yeah. What was your conversion rate when you first started in this?
0.
Yeah, mine too.
That was better now.
I did measure mine. Mine was like 1 in 20. It was like 5%. It was horrible. It was frightening, horrible. But anyway, we figured it out in the end. But yeah, you're right. But if you're desperate for the sale, or you don't have many meetings coming through, you hold on to them like for life. You tend to screw it up then as you go along. So yeah, good.
Well, I think just on that, I think I'll make a pretty good offer when I'm in a sales meeting. Without blowing my own ego here, but I'm incredibly good value. I offer a guarantee.
Just exactly that which you weren't going to do, but that's fine. You can.
Thanks,
well spotted there.
Okay, no, it's fine.
But I offer guarantee to say, if you're not making more money than you pay me, I'll give you your money back. And people go and they don't turn up to the meeting, or they say no, and you're like, you're an idiot, because you just. I just think it's crazy. In fact, a few weeks ago, I said to someone, this is like, really on board. I said, well, this is the cost. He's like, oh, that's a bit much. I said, well, what we might be able to do is step it up. So it's less 1 month and then more the next, and blah, blah. And he went, no, that doesn't interest me. What? Like, I just don't understand. Like, you're actually demonstrating you're an idiot. That's kind of what I'm. When I go into a sales meeting, I'm kind of like, if they don't sign up, they're an idiot, because this is such a good offer. Like, really, it's it's crazy. Anyway, I'll stop blowing my own trumpet.
It's a good job you're not going to blow your own trumpet, really, isn't it? Because if you did, you'd be talking about it a lot.
There you go. So the thing with rejection, the two things. One of them is how you deal with it on an emotional level, and the other one is how you deal with it on a practical level. What causes rejection? Is the message not clear enough? Am I not converting? Blah 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 blah. All of that. But just focusing on the emotional impact of rejection, what helped me is, first of all, in the coaching stuff, the coaching business, is knowing that I'm an acquired taste. In as much that I am Dutch, I will call a spade. I will call you out, as just proven. And I'm not the friend to ask, does my bum look big in this, because I would have told you beforehand and in no uncertain ways. And that's how I coach as well. Because of that, I totally get it if people don't want it. And I do not make it personal, because they're not ready for me, or they're not ready for me yet. They never will be ready for me. And that's fine too. In the same way, I worked with you, David. There are plenty of people who I couldn't work with. And I do think it's important to realize 90% of the times is not about you or as the person or the offer. They're just not ready yet. It could be the wrong time. And with my other hat on, which is running a solicitor's firm, so we specialize in dying people, people who are thinking of dying. We all died is the one thing we're going to comment on, people who just died. And funny enough, despite the importance, having a will is actually not, it's not, I won't say legalized, but it doesn't have to be solicitor. So we do get people who say, so why would I go for solicitors? Because it's more expensive. And I never go on a sales spiel. I said, and I do that in coaching as well, where I said, well, if I don't know about you, but if I feel not well and I feel ill, I typically call my GP. Now, there are people who go onto Facebook, and that's fine too, but I call my GP because he studied quite a few years for it. And, that's just me. And I don't have to say anything about the sale. I don't have to say anything, but they realize, okay, so it's solicitor versus a $9.99 kit from W.H. Smith. And I do the same thing, there is no right or wrong. It comes down to what are you ready for, and if people do not take it, then they just do not value their family enough. Of course, it's not true, because everybody values their family, but I think actually their family is not worth 150 quid or whatever it is. They rather buy a 9. It's not about me.
No, exactly.
It's never about me. And that makes the rejection, which I get lots of, it's just another day in the end.
I think it's something we did get used. I got used to it having rejection. What I found is, and things Gareth was saying as well, is this having some process of bringing prospects through. If they make it to the meeting, then, and literally 9 times out of 10 we do something together, it all makes sense, life's good, and away we go. providing that system's followed and they follow it and I follow it and all that sort of thing, then life is good. When it still gets it sort of surprises me is when we even do all that and even then they don't show up. And to me, Lynn will say all the time, well, you know, you've dodged a bullet, because they would have been a nightmare client. They can't show up for a meeting, they wouldn't show up for a call, they wouldn't do this, they wouldn't do that. And she's right, you know, she is right, but it's still sort of just smarts a bit. But the way around it is this sort of, value, that perception, and a system of generating the prospects coming along. So I'll see if this chap comes back to me for Thursday. I'll let you know. He was really keen. Everything was, you know, we want to do this. We want you to be on board. We want to do doing this, and all great. Yeah, let's meet up in, you know, in Remish, and off we go. Anyway, Claudia. Oh, you muted. It's okay.
Sorry about that. I think that in today's world, though, we have become very impatient. You know, in today's world of social media and instant this and notifications all day long, I think that maybe we should just chill a little bit in terms of, like, you know, how quickly do we actually expect a response back? And maybe I'm just too old-fashioned, but you know, I'm not somebody who's always hooked to my cell phone, and people know that, and it's a-okay, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think a couple days or a few days should be not really an indicator for us as of yet. That's just one of the things maybe that you can keep your calm a little bit longer, a little patience.
Yeah.
Also, I second what Laura said. And I mean, first of all, what Gareth said, yeah, they say no to the coaching. And even if, you know, a little bit what Laura pointed to is, if they say no to the coach, that's okay too, because people might be okay with me and the coaching, but not with somebody else and the coaching, and so on, because we work so ultimately intimately with our clients. The chemistry just has to be right. Okay. Unfortunately, people don't often have good etiquette to let people down smoothly, and so we are at a loss, and we're left wondering, like, you know, why do people just all of a sudden drop off the face of the earth? It's just, you know, pretty tough telling somebody, no, I can't, like, have you, and I'm gonna go coach with the next guy or something. But it is that thing. And also a little bit an analogy is, I am in love with the idea of organizing, right, and decluttering, because I have way too much stuff. But when I hold that thing in my hand, I can't let it go, right? There's a difference between the idea of doing something and actually doing it. And I think that some potential clients just get scared of their own courage, and they all of a sudden they feel this comfort zone shrinking, and that wall coming up, and all of a sudden I think that as the date approaches, and as the commitment to attempt coaching, or it could be a therapy or something, but to just dig deeper and scratch the surface a little bit, I think people are just getting scared.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think they back off.
And so it's not really, in most cases, that's my typical go-to, just like in any communication. And as what Slavik said, you can't not communicate, right? So if they just drop off the face of the earth, they're still saying something. It's about them. Right. And we should not, as we know as coaches, project our models onto them. Right. And or even say, like, I want a professional handling it versus you know, I go and get a kit, like Laura said, right? So it's you know, or what is expensive or what is not expensive. We should not project our kind of levels into it.
And I think it's something as well, looking at our sort of buying patterns as well. And there was a guy popped up on Facebook during the week, over the weekend, and it was to attend a free webinar on building apps and all this. Anyway, I thought, I'll register for it. So I registered for it, and And I attended it. If I register, I show up, I'm sat listening to this webinar thing, and it was pretty awful. It was just sales pitch, and testimonial, and imagine this, and are you excited now? And it's like, for goodness sake, it was 2 hours of that. It wasn't. I wasn't excited at all. And I thought, and I got towards the end of it, and I could see that the pitch was coming. Waited for the pitch, and he said, "We can only do this for. It used to be £80,000 to build an app, and now it's this, and now it's that, and all the way down. Special offer, special deal, blah blah blah." And it was, I think it was at 997. And as soon as you put a 7 on the end of the price, that was it. I was done. I was out of it. I was gone. It was just no chance. And I just jumped out, and I thought, then he'll never know. If I don't feed back to him, he'll never know. Because if it had been a good deal, would it be a good idea for me to have an app with some systems on it I can go and sell online? Yeah, it would. The idea is great, but the way he pitched it and sent it through, it was just, and also he was presenting it as if it was a live webinar. He was responding to people, putting messages in on the thing as well. I mean, look on the diary for the schedule of this webinar. There's 12 a day. Well, they're 2 hours for a start. He can't do 12, so they've got to be overlapping somewhere. It's a recording, and he's doing it as if, oh, hi there, Bob from Australia, and hi there, Karen from California. And of course, he didn't mention me anyway. But it was just badly put together. And I was thinking about my buying style. When did he lose me? And he lost me when it was this hyper value pitch sale stuff. It was just horrible. So, but we don't get told this. Nobody says to us, I don't think, I didn't like the way you did that. I don't feel comfortable with you. I don't like it. Or maybe Laura would say that to people. I don't know. Maybe you do. But generally, we don't get told that sort of feedback. People say, I want to think about it, or they just don't show up. And what they mean is there's something else they didn't like about the process or something, perhaps.
Well, we know how it is with feedback, right? You only actually hear it if you're ready to hear it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I did a workshop over the weekend up in Luxembourg, and one of the ladies there said, "Can I give you some feedback about your presentation style?" And I said no. I was tired. I didn't want to know. Anyway, she wasn't very pleased with that, but still, I just said no and walked away. Just there we go. Anyway, and Phil, any stories from your world in terms of sales and being pushed back and rejected, that sort of thing?
Not so much sales. It's been good listening to other people's experiences, mind you. The one thing though in my business, for those that don't know, I'm not in coaching. I do online marketing for people. That includes building and hosting websites. Mm-hmm. And very often, if I'm taking over a website from another supplier, the client will say, I'll say to the client, I say, who's looking after it at the moment, because I need information out of them and I need to arrange the transfer of the hosting and of the domain registration and everything. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I can't tell you that. Well, why not? Well, I haven't told them that I'm moving yet.
Yes.
And so you tell them that you're moving, give them my details, and we'll make contact and we can transfer the whole lot over. Mm-hmm. Or I'm not sure about that. I said, well, I have to say to them, well, if you don't tell me, it's going to take longer and it's going to be more expensive. Mm-hmm. So it's much easier. They'll understand that they've lost a client. Fair enough. If they start playing hardball, there are steps that I can take to get stuff for you. Yeah. But it's much easier and quicker if we cooperate. And
is it the confrontation with the existing supplier? They don't want to give them the bad news or something, do you think? Or because generally we don't like to give people bad news. Well, British people, Dutch people are fine with it, but we don't like to give people negative news.
I think it's a personal thing. Yeah. People feel. I mean, you've all said you took it personally in the beginning. Yeah. Business people, when they're making the change, also are acting personally and taking things personally that happen around them. They don't want to upset people, and they probably feel that by telling somebody they are upsetting them, and I don't know what sort of a backlash they expect. I guess they think, well, that supplier, because don't want to be with that supplier anymore, they're going to take my website down, they're going to keep all the content, they're going to do this, they're going to make my life a misery. And I say, well, as long as you stick to the contract, if they try any of that, you get your lawyers to send them a letter that they're in breach of contract and prepare to go to court. And but what we're trying to do is be cooperative to say make the journey smooth for these for people. It's not make it difficult. If I have a client who wants to move to another supplier, sometimes they're quiet about it, and the first I hear is when somebody's starting to interfere technically, and I get in contact with them and say, well, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it, that people don't, they tend not to raise these issues or have that confrontation or whatever it is, the bad news.
It's English.
Is it an English thing? Is it an English thing?
I don't want to, I mean, I love this country. Let's put that in there. You know, I'm being a coach. Let's frame this. Yeah. We could call it rejection, or we can call it lesson for improvement. I know it's a bit lame, lesson for learning. But I'll give you a very good example. When I moved to this, and here in this country, if you order a steak, medium rare, and you get it completely, completely cooked, burned. In Holland, they say, right, they call you and say, right, sorry, but I ordered medium rare, and people make a fuss, and they will then hopefully organize a new one, and then you talk about the good customer service afterwards. What happens here? People eat the steak, and then tell 20 of their friends that place makes the worst steaks ever. Now, I personally like it to be told to my face, because otherwise, how am I going to improve? Indeed. And that's another thing. If people tell me stuff, which they do, I see, okay, was it a real issue, or is it their perception? Because people can be in a bad day, and they have different. And if it's something I've done wrong or could have done better, what can I learn there now? And that confrontational, you call it confrontational, but that way of being is a very Dutch thing. And when I came to this country and actually talked to people about this, I was shocked at. Admittedly, over the years, I've become more English.
Oh dear! Oh, that's not.
Yeah, good. I know. Well, that's because my children are born and bred here, and they're quite made very English. What? How did that happen? Yeah, but I think, if they tell 20 of their people, their friends, it's a shy place, excuse my French.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
and you've lost 20 customers. What's worse off, having, trying to please somebody out, one person, or losing 20? I tell you which one I pick.
Well, we went, it's interesting you said that, because we were in the UK a couple of months ago, went out for lunch with some friends, and went to this pub, and one of the girls, her meal turned up, and it was not cooked or prepared properly. There was something wrong with it, and it was pretty horrible. And for about 5 minutes, she was moaning and complaining to the table about her meal, and it wasn't right, and this wasn't good. And then the waiter came across, and he said, "Everything okay with your meals?" And she went, "Yeah, it's fine." So she moaned to us, but wouldn't tell him. Yeah. And I said, we got it replaced in the end. But she was really not going to tell him. I said, "Why wouldn't you tell him? Why didn't you say it?" And she, I didn't want to cause a fuss. But she did with us. And as you say, the people on TripAdvisor or whatever it's going to be, or Facebook, are going to find out about it. So there is this sort of semi-passive fuss. But when it's face-to-face, saying what you think, and maybe it is a British thing as well. I've become used to it. I think we're working with multinationals, all over the world, different people. The Americans are the ones, New York, Brooklyn, New Yorkers are the toughest ones in my experience, but they'll tell you they just think you're an idiot. Get out. But it is maybe a British thing. Maybe it is a bit of a British thing. So we have to. I mean, Claudia, what's your experience of this? Is it a British thing that we're a bit more passive in this area?
I think in America it was the same way. I think Luxembourgish people are also pretty. Down to earth. I think more so now than it was, like, let's say, when I was a child. People were really well behaved and had this overinflated sense of etiquette, at least like my parents had, like, always be correct, and in any case other people always know better than you do, so let's just keep quiet, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But actually, what Laura said, this example was the steak, is actually brought an idea to my head too. This rejection, if we extend it to the post-sale thing, I think it's even worse. You know, if people don't show up for a meeting, or people, you know, clients after a while of working with you, all of a sudden tell you, no, it's not working out, and it's rubbish anyway, and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, as you know, it is like this, that instead of just reflecting and contextualizing this one experience, it gets, you know, true to human fashion, it gets generalized, and so on. So and then we have the issue that reputations take a lifetime to build and are lost in a second, essentially. Especially in today's day of social media. I wonder if anybody had something to share around that topic.
I think, well, I think reputation is I think, well, yeah, reputation, it is key, and you have to be real careful in my experience of how you respond to these things. If you respond in a negative way and your email back, so where the hell were you on the call? You didn't bother to show up, and it's disrespectful. And then you find out that they were in the hospital with their dog and their cat or whatever. And it's, oh, here we go. You can't read it. You can't win that one at all. It's going to be horrific, and you're always going to lose out. So I think we've got to be able to take it on the chin and just suck it up. You know, it's one of those things, and let it go. Be nice, be pleasant, regardless of how we're feeling about it, because negative feeling never generates any positivity. So I've learned, tempted you might be to email them and tell them what you think about them. I haven't done that for quite some time, actually. No. So apart from the one guy in Luxembourg, but he deserved it.
One of the questions I ask, sorry for one of the, I have a focus sheet for every client, so they give that to me before each session. David, I don't know if you do that.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
It's a good idea. You can write that one down.
Yeah, I will write that one.
One of the questions is my coach in my last session was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 type thing, and you kind of circle. And one guy just kept, like, I got really uptight about it because he was constantly gave me a 6, like, and I was really upset about this because I know, and I thought, okay, how do I deal with this? And eventually I just said, just out of interest, like, why am I a 6? Why am I not a 10? And he went, I never really know what to put on that. So
it's just nothing, isn't it? It means nothing.
Really stressing about it.
Oh, I saw that there's a sketch. I forget who it was now. Someone was talking about this, rating yourselves on a scale like 0, 1 to 10. And he was talking about how attractive people are. And he said, I know I'm either I'm a 4, 5, or 6. He's like, that's where I am. He said, how do I know that? He said, because when I walk down the high street, nobody looks. So if you're a 1, people are going to stare at you. And if you're a 10, they're going to look at you. So nobody does that to me. So therefore, I'm a 4, 5. I'm in the middle. I'm 4, 5, or 6. Sorry, Claudia, did you have a point there? You flinched. I don't know if you had a question.
No.
That's okay. Sorry. So this dealing with rejection, is it something that we have to just get over, or do we engineer it into our sales process? Can we engineer it out so we never get any rejection or get let down? Should we systemize it so much that we don't ever come across it, or is it just the nature of the beast in what we're doing in all sectors, not just coaching, but from an IT web point of view as well? Can we engineer it out completely, or are we stuck with it, do you think?
It's part of life. Part of life, you know, whether it's in relationships, making the team, getting a deal, you know, standing in line for getting your petrol in the UK, and just before the last person takes it, is life. And I think people could be a lot happier if they set the expectation and accept it's life, and it's not a conspiracy against you. It's just the way it is.
That's a great point.
Well, in our line, that with what we get is what's known as shopping cart abandonment, where somebody goes partway through the sales process and they've got the stuff in their shopping cart on the website, and it's going, nah, not interested. And there's a reason they went that far, but what it's seen by a lot of people is that, they've abandoned the cart. They wanted to buy it, but they didn't. So what we'll do is we'll send them emails to remind them that they wanted to buy it, and then we'll really piss them off.
Does that work? I mean, I don't know, just out of interest. I mean, because I get those sort of things.
Only if they attach a discount next to it, because that's sometimes how I do it. Yeah.
There's a reason that they went that far in the process, and what they never try and do is find out why they went that far in the process.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's the answer to that question is the interesting one, not the fact that they abandoned it.
Sure. Why?
I mean, that's what they're doing there is they're saying somebody went around the supermarket, filled their trolley full of goods, and they're on their way to the checkout, and they just abandon the trolley and walk out the shop. And probably followed by one or two private investigators or henchmen trying to find out what they stuffed in their coat. But to say, oh, you abandoned the trolley, they abandoned the cart, therefore you were interested in buying the goods. Here's the next advert. Here's the additional 5% off. That might convert some people, but generally speaking, all it does is annoy them. And perhaps they should say, we noticed that you didn't finish the buying process. What was it that led you to start the buying process in the first place? And try and get something positive back out of it. If the initial sales meeting that you set up and you go to in a cafe somewhere, if the person doesn't turn up, take it out on the cafe, tell them the coffee's rubbish.
Yes, kick somebody. I remember talking about this abandonment. This is going back years ago, and Lynn and I were first together. I was only 17, crikey, and I wanted to get Lynn a gift, and so I went shopping in, I think it was in Stratford-on-Avon back in the day. It was very posh, Stratford, compared to where we lived. There was very posh. Anyway, Stratford-on-Avon, and a little store, and they got a cut glass crystal, I think it was a horse or something, a beautiful thing. It was a prancing horse, cut glass. And Lynn said that would be very nice. But I went in to get this thing, and I thought it said on the price it was like £100, which back then was like a month's wages for me. But £100 for this thing. Could we get it out, have a look at it? So they got it out. We had a look at it. Yeah, that's great. This sort of thing. And as they're about to put it into the box, turns out it was actually £10,000. And as soon as I said the price, and they just sort of wrap it up, and I panicked. I literally panicked, and I came up with every excuse. I didn't say, "There's no way I can afford that." I did no way. I can't afford that. There's no way. I've got the price wrong. I came out with, "We need to go and check on the shelf space for it, check on the lighting and the security at the house," and we got out of that shop. And I can imagine the poor girl who was getting this sale of this £10,000 horse must have thought we were absolute crazy. But we backed out very, very quick from that sale, and we never told her that we couldn't afford it. But it was ridiculous, insane. But that's part of it. I think there's a surprise or a shock in the process somewhere that destabilizes people, and then they just back off, whether they tell us or not. So we'll be real careful with that, I think.
I got caught out once with a purchase on an item, and it was to do with the handwriting of the price ticket.
Ah, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I was sure that was a 1.
Yes. 1s and 7s over here on the continent. You got to watch out for those.
It was a 9.
Oh, crikey! Okay.
It was only a 2-digit number, but
never mind.
Well, I have abandoned shopping carts because I didn't have my digital token with me. My
right, okay.
token, right? That is also nowadays the thing, right? That you have to use this one-time code.
Oh, of course,
and you have to have this little token doodad with you. In order to, it's not enough to just give in your credit card statements. You have to get this bank crypto confirmation, right? And so that really makes things difficult. I think that sometimes people I think that when you have to give the money, that is the difficult thing. I mean, irrespective of the token right now.
Sure.
But that finalizes. That's like the final step. And some people aren't that well off, and for some of them, like going into an expensive coaching thing might be a substantial part of their disposable income. That might be less so in the pure business coaching setting where the company might take it over, but some are individual contributors, individual
they're funding it themselves.
And so it's there is something to saying I am worth this.
Yes.
And which has again nothing to do with the value proper of the coaching, but with the value they attribute to themselves. How worthy are they, not how worthy are you, or how worthy is a coaching process for the company or for myself.
Yeah, that's great points. Great points. I mean, Kev, what do you find? Your sales conversion rate is pretty strong, isn't it? You guys, you and Sue, you hold out going well, or is it?
But we're still. I mean, I found recently it's been me that's doing the rejecting.
Okay.
I've been sat in front of people and thinking, no, I don't want to work with you. This is going to be hard work. So I've sort of not made the offer of a coaching program, if you like. But what Laura was saying in regard to feedback, when we used to have restaurants, I would actively get feedback. We had comment cards on every table. It's an insistence of ours, and we had time put in the diary every week for following up on negative, not mostly on the negative feedback, but occasionally we follow up with some good feedback. We'll invite those people back as well, give them good feedback. But I always thought that you can't get better if you don't know you're making mistakes.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's not all British.
No.
With exception, clearly.
The exception to the rule. It's
there's a restaurant around the corner from us, and the fella that runs it he's a very good chef. But when he was doing a different style of restaurant, he would come out every table that was booked. He would come out at some point during their meal and have a chat with them.
Yeah,
not necessarily about the food, but what he's trying to do is invite them to give him feedback.
Yeah,
and he would do that at every single table at some point during the meal.
Yeah, we went to a restaurant around the corner here. It's in Germany, but you can't get to it. You have to go anyway. You have to be in France to get to it. Or, anyway, complex.
International being.
I tell you what, yeah, the international Dave. But we went there for our anniversary. It was a little pub bistro sort of place, and it was fabulous. It was really good. And when we had similar as Phil was saying, the I think it was the owner. She came around halfway through the meal, and she didn't say the typical, "Is your food okay?" or anything like everything all right with your meal, this sort of thing. She said, what do you enjoy most about the food? Yeah, we had to actually think about it. And then she said, is there anything you wish you hadn't have ordered? It was real straight. It maybe got lost in translation a bit because she's obviously she's German. But which is there anything you wish you hadn't have ordered? And it was like, wow, that's one interesting question, because, and there wasn't, but she was really probing for genuine curiosity about what wasn't right or what we hadn't have ordered and this sort of thing. And I thought it was really interesting. And the food was fabulous. We gave her a good review, blah, 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 and they'll go back again. But yeah, finding this sort of feedback, it is an interesting one, isn't it? It is an interesting one. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so any final points? We've got a few minutes left for Any final points on rejection? Yeah.
I want not necessarily on reject. Well, the two things I want to link together is actually what Claudia said about the coaching and the need to be ready for coaching, and the other thing is about when people telling them what's expected in the process.
Yeah.
With my solicitor's hat on, when people want to write a will, we had clients who didn't want to write the will, who understand the importance, but they realized that what it meant, but they're actually putting in writing who, to put it bluntly, who are the most important in their lives, who is going to get their money when they die. They didn't want to do that because they hadn't clicked that that's actually what a will is. Now, in the coaching element, I had one of the reasons why I was late today, I had a coaching session, and the guy, it was a good coaching, he says, thank God he thanked me for it. He said, but I didn't realize how much of me I had to give away to make the coaching session worthwhile. Because I asked him a question, you could tell he was going deep. Yeah. I said, listen, you don't have to tell me, but you need to answer that question for yourself, what that is. And some people are just not prepared to deal with their stuff.
Yes.
There is a reason why people are holding back or not doing it. And it's often, it can be pretty damn deep. And sometimes we need to tell them, I'm going to ask you the questions, which are not the comfortable ones, but that's, as a coach, maybe you need to tell them. And because if you, during your sales process, they start to realize that, and they don't want to share that. Actually, they don't want to tell them that their mother was a right bitch who told them that they don't, they can't do anything in life. They don't want to tell. They may say something else.
Yes.
They may say, I can't do it because of this. And it may actually be that they are, they don't like digging deep. They want quick fixes.
Absolutely. But I've also found as well sometimes that the reason that people start their coaching journey, within 6 months, they sort of sit back and they go, right, here's a real story now. They get that relation, they build a trust and relationship, and then they'll tell you what the real backstory is. And you go, oh my God, I didn't know that. And you think, I think, well, why didn't you tell me in the first place? But I think, it's just you say they don't want to reveal all this to a stranger, and away they go. So it's very complex, but complex journey we're on, complex journey. Yeah, Claudia.
It's definitely true. I mean, this vulnerability that they need to exhibit is something that, for most is foreign.
Absolutely.
Where are we able or willing to show ourselves vulnerable nowadays? And tightly interlinked with that is the whole concept of shame and expectations, and it gets complex really, really quickly. And that's why like Laura, I do tell my clients from day one, in the first meeting, in the first thing, it's like, I say it like it is. And I ask the uncomfortable questions. And actually, I go as far as I tell them, once you do not want to answer, I know that's where we need to go. Right? Because that's really where the breakthroughs are, and that resistance is going to be part of it. So they are going to be prepared for that. But on the other hand, I balance that with really being clear about confidentiality, and by that time, before I even say that, you see that there's good intent and some level of rapport that's possible, because obviously in the first meeting, you're not there yet, but you can build it. And it's really a process, because coaching can, on occasion, if it's done right, become uncomfortable. Because you do not do coaching to just pat yourself on the shoulder and say everything is great. You go there to change something, and so sometimes you need to look deep, and that resistance is part of it. And sometimes it happens pre-sales, and that's where the rejection comes in.
Absolutely. But I think as well, I think the uniqueness to a degree about this profession is that people tell us all sorts of things, and they do stay absolutely confidential. They of course they have to, but people will tell us, as we all know, all sorts of things about themselves, their family, their background, or whatever it is, and that's part of it. We have to allow them, enable them to explore these areas and be okay with it. And we sort of verge on sort of psychology to a degree, I suppose, which we're not qualified for that, but we have to explore this and be totally open, totally honest, and allow them to share these things and help them to move forward. So it's a definite privilege. If they're not prepared to do that, Claudia, as you say, maybe then it's not right for them to go on this journey with us. So
well, I think that there's first of all, I think that we're using psychological tools and the psychology of people. So I think that's just what it is. People tick a certain way, and both psychologists and coaches kind of get knowledgeable about it, and try to assist the client either getting healthy in terms of a therapist, or getting from good to great to extraordinary in terms of coaching, right? But now I lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
I just opened what really helps with building this rapport, and what people realize quite quickly, our clients, is that we practice this radical non-judgment. This radical neutrality, no matter what they say, no matter how exorbitant, how terrible, or what they would consider shameful, we're just okay.
It's got to be okay. That's it, isn't it? Absolutely
and
right.
That makes them comfortable. That, more than anything else, allows them to open up, because we do not say, oh no, how terrible, or whatever.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, we just accept it and provide this truly non-judgmental space.
Absolutely.
Right? I have one more tiny idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
About the feedback. As coaches, we are so focused on our client that I think very often we stay in that mode even at the end of a session. And it would be really good for everybody to ask these couple of questions that are turned around, right? Where we're now not focusing so much on the client, but we're focusing on the coaching session, and we ask for that feedback. But I think it requires an effort and a strategy, because we are so client focused during the session that we forget to do it. Right? Yeah,
it's interesting. I had an email came in from a lady who did a coaching session last week. Email came in, and I didn't think it had gone that well. She's very detail oriented, and she wanted to look at numbers and this sort of thing. All good, but it's really on the technical aspect of the business, something else. And I didn't say a lot. She was showing me this spreadsheet and all this sort of numbers going on with it. And I was getting bored. But anyway, and we're going through this conversation. We got an outcome, all very good. And she emailed me afterwards. She said, I found that, she said, that really helpful just for you to listen and let me just do this, share all this stuff. And it was for her to put it all into a system for herself. She got really, I thought, crikey. And it is interesting where the value comes from sometimes. Not all about elegant deep dive questions even or anything like that. It can just be, as you say, just listening. Yeah, that's okay. What about this? How does that work? And off she went, and she's rejigged this thing, and off she's gone, and she's got great value from it. So it is an interesting one, and maybe the same in the sort of sales process as well.
Well, we have an opportunity to help our clients, whatever they do, to use our own request for feedback to improve where they are. Because if we make it a habit to, which I don't do, to be perfectly honest, if we make it a habit to ask them, what could I do better? What was the biggest value? Whatever the question is. If we make it open, that allows them to do that with their clients or whatever it is they're dealing with, because they will see firsthand how much improvement, how much better our coaching becomes. So they will see how much better they will become if they do that with their clients. Does that make sense? It makes sense to me.
It does make sense.
It works both ways. We get better, but we can help it as a tool with our clients. See, it works because I got better in coaching you by asking these questions. So you do it now to your clients.
Yeah. No, I have one guy who's been with me for a long time, number of years now, and when we come onto the conversation, we're on the call for about 8 minutes. That's it. It's literally 8 minutes, and I've said to him, what value we get? No, it's great. I love it. I just go through, I do all my work, do this, do that, tell you what I'm doing, get this feedback off of it. And he loves it. And 8 minutes, like, crikey. And I'm thinking, wow, we need to ask him more questions and dig around here. And we're sort of 5-6 years in, and it's all very good. So we have to be careful with imposing our structure on the relationship as well. It has to be it's a partnership. So it has to work both ways, I guess, but still. But he sends over a focus sheet, Gareth, as well. So interesting.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
We should try that. We should try that.
Yeah.
All right. Any final points? Any final points? Thoughts? Observations? Well, that's excellent. These are really good. Any thoughts for next week's subject? How about that? Let's throw it open. Anybody? What will be helpful? What will be productive? Any themes we could discuss and throw open for everybody?
Proper use of a focus sheet. Maybe, I don't know.
That's the first 30 seconds done. Just do a bloody focus sheet.
Maybe focus in general.
Focus. Okay, there we go. Focus and yeah. Okay, there we go. Focus.
I had my question with you last week after my coaching session, which actually ties in with focus, is the structuring, because I find often that that's helpful, but I think, oh my God, we're going all over the place.
Yeah.
You think and we get it somewhere and they're happy, but I feel in my mind that we've jumped.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense? So
absolutely, yeah. So focus, structure.
Yeah. So and you take them places, but then it goes all over, and it's easy to pull it back. But I sometimes think, have I not allowed them to go into too many different subjects? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So focus and sort of structure of the conversation.
Yeah. See, Claudia is with me on this one. See, sometimes
it's like girl power. It's girl power.
Yeah, it's because if you ask right questions, all things open up. But then to get it back,
Exactly.
It would be really interesting to see everybody's take on it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Agreed. Okay.
Oh, don't take it from me, because that was my issue.
Okay, well, I'll set that one up. I'll get the invites out. So it's focus and structure for next week on the coaching approach. In the meantime, good to see everybody. There's nobody else trying to dial in, just checking out and let them in. They're not sat there. And we'll see you next week. I'll get the invites out. Have a great week in the meantime. Speak to you anon, and look forward to updates.
See you next week.
See you soon.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.